In case you're wondering, these are not the baby flamingos.
Baby flamingos.
Baby hippo.
It's just Peter and Efrain. They're here. But the flamingos are coming.
Yes.
They'll be along. I understand they're in the house.
Oh, they've made it in.
Yes.
With their entourage.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm Larry. This is Amber, and it's the Morning Brew over here on the couch. And listen, this segment brought to you by, Albuquerque Arts and Entertainment Magazine has now merged with the good folks at ABQ Free Press. You still get all the great arts and entertainment coverage mixed in with a hefty dose of investigative reporting, and that's what one of these guys does pretty well here on the couch. My good friend Peter St. Cyr is here, one of the reporters and contributors with ABQ Free Press. Good to see you.
Good morning, Larry.
And you brought the funny guy with you.
Yeah, he's
The
hilarious.
hairy guy.
Efrain Villa is here, the humor columnist with ABQ Free Press. Good to see you, Efrain.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you. What's funny out there these days? Are we laughing through the summer?
I hope so. Yeah, there's lots of funny stuff out there. I think my topic du jour is my hair. Right,
Right
Your
now
hair
it
and
is.
makeup people go crazy.
I know. I'm sitting here so jealous because it's
You want a
so
beard,
much
too?
nicer than mine. This is what I'm talking about. That is beyond cool. And you don't sit there and play with it like I do, obsessively. Just, have you always been growing it out?
No. This is all of like 2 months.
What?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, I started when I left. I left on a 2-year trip, and that's when I started growing it. So I started growing it. I can actually say this back in Nam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was in Vietnam when I stopped cutting my hair.
How about that? That was a great trip, huh?
Yes, it was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah, I started in Vietnam, went through Cambodia, Laos, Southeast Asia, India, and ended in Nepal.
Did they think you were from India?
So that's actually what this next column is about. It's coming up. So I traveled through a little region that's nestled between Myanmar, Bhutan, Tibet.
Yeah.
And there used to be headhunters there, and it's a very diverse region. It's tribal. It's amazing. Beautiful textiles. They've also had a lot of people pass through there. So they had Baptist missionaries who went there. And now they are extremely Baptist. They're very religious. There's a church in every village. And so you can imagine what it's like when you look like this. And you've been looking at images of Jesus renderings.
Oh,
so
yes.
yeah, a lot of times I would walk in and it's Jesus.
Oh my gosh. Ooh.
I was thinking Jesus.
Yes, or Jesus, yes. Mexican Jesus, yes.
Hey, Peter, give us the rundown for those who haven't read ABQ Free Press before. You've been working with them for a while now. What's the style, what's the form of kind of writing you get to do there?
Well, for me, I've been taking deep dive looks at the culture of aggression at APD mostly since April, because that's been the big story. But the paper is about interpretive journalism and taking some issues and providing context and historical and what it really means longer term. The paper comes out every 2 weeks, and so you can't do the hard-hitting breaking news all the time.
Right.
And so in this issue, after the Roosevelt Park, where the protesters were upset when they found out that APD had embedded plainclothes policemen, we took a look at the history of spying at APD, and it's kind of interesting. We found that in the mid-'80s, a civil rights attorney who had filed a civil lawsuit on behalf of an unpopular client, a client who had been originally accused of a crime and then kind of vindicated originally, had his own trash picked up by cops who replaced garbage truck drivers and went through his trash. He believes that they were looking for any kind of incriminating stuff to embarrass him, since they had filed a lawsuit against the department. And he even had been recently divorced and found out 3 detectives were calling his ex-wife. They didn't realize that this civil rights attorney and his ex-wife were still on good speaking terms, and she snitched him out and called him up and told him exactly what they were looking for and what they were trying to do. And so that led to a civil lawsuit and a settlement. And part of the settlement was very good, and it required APD officers back in the 80s to get permission from high-level commanders before they launched any kind of intelligence gathering operation. You know, we expect it to be happening when there's a criminal investigation, but when you're a high-profile civil rights attorney, an officer of the court, and you were advocating for a client, you don't expect to be spied on. But it goes on. This department apparently has a long history of collecting intelligence on high-profile members of the community. I talked to former Mayor Jim Baca, and he became mayor in the late 90s, but he had run in 1985, and he tells me that during the campaign, deputy police chief came to him with an intelligence file on one of his opponents in the campaign. Apparently, the then police chief, Whitey Hansen, didn't really like Ken Schultz and thought that maybe he was a con man and had this intelligence file. Sam Baca, who was a deputy chief, offered it to the Jim Baca campaign, which was proof of spying. Of course, Sam Baca told me, no way, I never did that. The problem was that Jim Baca had a witness, and the former city attorney, Pat Bryan, told me that indeed they had been offered this file. While I was talking to Sam, he told me that he didn't know if the chief's office was rigged for audio recording and who rigged it, but when he became chief, by Ken Schultz, ironically, appointed him, that he had all those audio cables taken out of the chief's office. So more currently, and going into the 21st century, we talked to an undercover officer who didn't want to reveal his name, obviously for, fear of retaliation, said that the intelligence gathering unit doesn't just focus on crime, that it's really become a mini CIA. And so this officer told me that recent former chiefs, had ordered him to put tracking devices on people's cars and look into their phone records and to surveil them. And these particular targets were not under criminal investigation. And so, the scrutiny of the Albuquerque Police Department has been fair. And these protesters that were at the park, we learned, probably should have expected embedded police officers, because all the law enforcement officers that we talked to said that it's become standard community policing procedures. And it's not about necessarily always the political view of the organizers. They already know that. But sometimes when you have a big protest, like at the Roosevelt Park, there are activists and agitators that come and try and create chaos outside of the original goal of the protest. And so, ultimately, maybe we should expect some of it, because there are surveillance cameras all throughout the city. And it's just part of city living. So it was a fun story to work on.
That part of the story didn't seem surprising, that there were undercover police officers there. That didn't sound surprising, but what is surprising is just the blatant disregard of our civil rights.
Well, part of the settlements.
They can spy on people, that they don't have there's no real merit.
Well, part of what John Walker, who was the civil rights attorney that had the settlement with APD back in the 80s, told me was that part of the settlement was that they had to comply with all these national standards, and that there was orders for cops to go through the proper procedures, but that over a decade or two, some of that institutional knowledge goes away and people forget about that, and then they're motivated by whatever their new vision and mission and leadership wants them to do.
Yeah,
Great reporting, Peter, though.
Thank
Can't wait
you.
to read the story.
Thank you, it was fun.
Yeah. Gives you an idea of the variety of reporting that goes on with ABQ Free Press. You got crazy guys like Efrain here, and
With hair.
With lots of hair.
yeah, with the hair. And you got Peter.
Hairless
it's
reporters.
Good stuff. It really
The
is.
hair and the hairless.
Hair and no hair.
Yin and yang. I want to be yang.
Wow. All right. Well, there you go. Hey, Albuquerque Arts and Entertainment Magazine is now part of Albuquerque Free Press, ABQ Free Press, available everywhere. Got a new issue coming out tomorrow, right, guys? And
That's right.
it'll be interesting.
That's right. And photo contest. We had 76 entries. There are 16 winners, and you're going to see some great photography.
Oh, cool.
I love the cover of this one of July 2nd, How to Beat a Traffic Ticket.
Hey,
News you can use,
that's
guys.
right.
Well, I'd recommend start going slowly to begin with.
Yeah.
Don't get in that predicament to
The
start.
speed.
Hey, guys, thanks for coming in.
Thank
today.
you.
Great
Thank
to
you
have you
both.
both here.
Great to
Thanks,
see you.
Larry.
Likewise, likewise.
All right, baby flamingos from the Albuquerque Biopark coming up.
I heard something back there.
Yeah, that's next year on the Morning Brew. Stay with us.
Oh, you can hear them chirping?